Today we are here to continue with the second lecture of this series, GS2 Social Justice. So before starting our lectures, I am having a small announcement. Please do have a look at all the playlists which are designed for UPSC in this channel, and these are all actually part of our paid courses, but if the response is good here, we will be considering putting it here for fully free. So please do subscribe and leave a feedback comment. Also, this is the WhatsApp number given on the screen, 7200681675. If you are looking for a good quality test series, you can just WhatsApp to this number. This is Vysh Ias number. So with no delay, let's start the lecture. So in the previous lecture, we were talking about the schemes for vulnerable sections. There we have completed some 3 or 4 vulnerable sections and their problems. We covered it holistically. So in this lecture, we'll be continuing with that. So vulnerable sections part 2. So I would request you all to watch the first lecture if you haven't watched it, because this will be a continuation of the first lecture. Okay. So the schemes for vulnerable sections part 2. Then the reasons for vulnerability of rural communities. This is the next vulnerable section. Rural communities is the next vulnerable sections. What are the problems specifically faced by these communities? The main problem is digital deprivation or low internet penetration. This is termed as the digital deprivation of the rural communities. This is highly pronounced during the pandemic times. The low internet penetration affected the online classes of students, which was highly disrupted. Okay. Then there is this infrastructural bottlenecks, connectivity problems are there, road connections, then other transport modes and all there is there. Then this market conditions, they are not having a bargaining power also. Then there is this low literacy and education quality is also not up to the mark. Health facilities, the network of primary sector, primary care, secondary care, etc. is not much common in rural areas, and there is this problem of non-institutional deliveries, which puts the women of rural areas in risk. Then this problem of distress migration to urban areas. This is actually an emotional kind of insecurity offered especially to the elderly people. Why this distress migration happens? Urban areas are offering better jobs and better living conditions than rural areas. So there will be like an out migration will be there. So this is particularly affecting the emotional insecurity. They will be having feeling alienation and alone feeling. Now what are the schemes for rural communities? What are the schemes? Here also you can quote some 3 or 5 schemes. This BharatNet project. So like this, if in the earlier slide we have learned about this digital divide, digital deprivation problem. So from here we can write another point, BharatNet project. This is like a solution. So optical fiber connectivity, it enhances e-governance, and it is embracing this inclusive governance. See, these are all keywords. This is the name of the project. So from here you have to develop such keywords. Other keywords also you can add. Then there is this National Rural Livelihoods Mission. It is particularly targeting at rural poverty. Rural poverty, it is a worst phase of poverty, and self-help group creation. Then indirectly it is dealing with this participating governance. Participative governance means it is like a bottom-up approach, wherein people are actively participating in governance. This MG Narega, it is a revolutionary public policy by Indian government, and it ensures the right to work, and it also comes with social audit. Okay, so this in a way enhances the accountability and transparency. Okay, Awas Yojana Gramin. This is particularly focusing on the housing facilities. We all know that the housing facilities in rural areas are not so much good, and it is also not disaster resilient. Okay, so housing for all by 2022. This is like a distributive justice. Here the scheme is targeting scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, bonded laborers, widows. Like the degree of exploitation is being divided and adequate care is being given. So this is dealing with distributive justice. Like these things, here itself you got some points. Distributive justice is there, e-governance is there, rural poverty, participative governance. These are all the keywords. These keywords you have to include in your answers. Okay. So next vulnerable section is elderly people. How they are vulnerable? What are the reasons? So first point is there is a feminization of aging seen in seen in the elderly people. This means that the ratio of females who are elderly in India are more than males. Okay, why this is a bigger problem means already women faces discrimination, the patriarchal issues and so on. So when there is feminization of aging, there is a case of double discrimination. Then there is this weakening or dilution of this intergenerational ties. Why? Because we are moving from universalism to particularism. The nuclear families are coming up and the ties are reducing. Many people are embracing privacy too much. So this is like a weakening of intergenerational ties. This denies the needed emotional support to the elderly people, and there is this erosion of traditional institutions and gatherings like marriages or family functions or family as a bigger institution. These things are eroding. So this is invariably affecting this elderly people badly. Then out of these things there comes a feeling of helplessness and alienation. Okay, why this is coming means they are alone, especially in the era of digitalization. Many people will be stuck in mobile phones and there is a mobile digital world. So there is not much needed attention being given to this elderly people. Then the main problem is health deterioration. Added to that, when this becomes a problem, there is high out of pocket expenditure also. India, it is having very low spending of GDP upon the health sector. Especially private sector is spending more on the health sector in India. So there is out of pocket expenditure more from the part of elderly who are already suffering from health related issues. Then this pushes them to a financial dependence, and it sometimes translates into a hatred. This questions their dignity. Schemes for elderly. What are the schemes for elderly? Here I have given 3 schemes. You can add in more as time passes. When you are getting some schemes from the prelims practice papers and all, that time you will be learning this government schemes in a tabular format, no? So from there you can pick up some schemes and integrate it here. Okay, so the first scheme is Rashtriya Vayoshree Yojana. It is like providing aids and assisting devices like this for the blind, deaf. The assisting devices is being specially focused upon BPL population among the elderly. So it is targeting vulnerable people within vulnerable people. Okay, BPL within elderly people. Then PM Vaya Vandana Yojana, it is like a pension scheme, social security scheme during old age, so that the elderly people can reduce the emotional and financial dependence upon their caretakers. Then the integrated program for older persons. This is also a community-like program which actually enables the elderly people. Rather than giving support, it actually gives an emotional dignity to them. Okay, that is the next thing. Then the next section is transgender person. This is also very vulnerable. This vulnerable category is transgenders. So the first issue dealing with the transgenders is identity crisis. Identity crisis is a very serious problem because it is the identity of a person which entails and facilitates the person to claim for his rights and claim for his privileges. It is all about identity. So they are not having an identity. Although they are having an identity, that is not even socially recognized, and even to get a legal identity, they have to go through a lot of process. There is red tapeism in granting the identity of a transgender person, and we can see this examples of conversion. Some people will be trans man, trans woman, etc. So when people make such approaches, transgenders make such approaches, there is the scientific approaches like negative nudging, and they are being taken to counseling rather than to respect their dignity and respect their privacy. People and the family support team, they will be taking these people to counseling, and this is a form of negative nudging. So this is one problem. Next is the discrimination in healthcare. They are already particularly vulnerable to this diseases like HIV and depression. So on the top of that, they are being discriminated in healthcare, hospitals and public healthcare centers also, they are being discriminated. Then there is this dignity issue, unrecognized dignity. Okay, so we can see the instances of the denial of public services to transgenders like bathrooms, hotels, then transport, buses, like that thing. They are being constantly treated in an inhuman way. Then they are also prone to trafficking and sexual harassment. This is another thing. Many people are resorting to sex workers. Okay, so because of because of trafficking they are resorting to that methods, and there also they are not given any type of dignity. Then there is this rampant unemployment. Recruiters are not wanting to recruit transgenders in any way. Here you can quote a sentence like, the recognition of transgenders, this issue to recognize the transgenders as a third gender, it is rather than a social, legal, political or medical issue, it is to be primarily treated as a human rights issue. So this makes us to think. So if you are getting any question relating to transgenders or social justice or vulnerable sections like that, you can use this quote. It is to be treated as a human rights issue. Okay. Now the schemes for transgenders. Okay. So this is National Portal for Transgenders. This is like to reduce the physical interaction. See, this physical interaction is the main thing they have to face as discrimination from the side of public and from the side of officials. So whenever they have to apply for this digital identity cards or certificate like things, they can reduce this physical interaction through this portal. Then Garima Grah, this is like a case study from Gujarat, Vadodara. It is a community based organization which is wholly run by transgenders, and it provides food, shelter, then clothing and that basic amenities etc. to transgenders. Okay, so it is like a enabling kind of thing. Then National Council for Transgender Persons, it sets up the welfare boards at all the states for monitoring the issues specifically relating to transgenders. So this is also a good step. It is like an example of decentralized governance, and it ensures the better targeting of the issues of transgender persons. Then this is also yet another case study and the success model from Odisha, Swikruti. It is like promoting equality. It is a initiative to promote equality and bring the transgenders at par with the other genders. Okay. Next topic. Next are the reasons for vulnerability of minorities. What are the reasons which are plaguing the plight of minorities? Okay. So the first factor we have to know about is regionalism and fundamentalism. These are the main two factors which are mainly affecting minorities. There is this principle of son of soil. This is my land or this is my culture. So affinity to my, the word my and my own. These are the main problematic areas. So these people, when people are developing this notion of regionalism and fundamentalism, they will not be having any secular feeling. Secular feeling will be absent, and they will not be in a situation to adopt and coexist in various cultures. See, India is a land with multiple diversity, multiple levels of diversity, many religions, many cultures and so on. So it is always better to survive. These are the various diversities in India, suppose. So it is better to coexist by participating and cooperating each other. You can give and take good things from each other's culture. This is not happening in India. So this is the main reason behind the plight of minorities, this son of soil principle and affinity to one's own culture. Then there is the serious lack of social capital and resulting alienation. Okay, so an example would be this religious minorities in an area, they will be actually excluded from all those functions, all those community based programs or something like that. Okay, not only religious minorities, if whatever minority be it be, linguistic minority or the cultural minorities, that people, they will not be in an integration with the mainstream society. Even if they are physically present in some community based functions or so, the other people, the majority people of that area or the majority community will not be in a situation to cooperate wholeheartedly with these people. So this puts them into a situation of alienation and lack of social capital. Social capital is the network of friends, family and the community. Okay, so this community ties will be broken down. Then here the children of minority communities are highly vulnerable. This is also discrimination within discrimination, because children right from the childhood, they will be instilled with divisive tendencies. Like you have heard this terms, parents will be asking to child, some parents, they will be asking to their child about their friends, is this friend from our community? Such things, it will instill divisive tendencies within the children right from the primary stage of socialization. So this is not going to work for a healthy nation. Then this issue of communal violence, okay, and this the lack of choice. They are prone to live with available facilities. They are not given a chance to live in the way they want. Okay, so these are the major issues of minority communities. Then here what you can add is, you can also add the tribal communities. If the question, if a question comes which you have to write for some 15 marks or so, these points will not be enough, and you can also add an extra edge to your answer by giving tribal communities also you can view as a minority community, so you can include the problems of tribal communities also here. Okay, so that is the thing. Moving on to the schemes for minorities. So this is a new scheme, this 15-point program by Prime Minister, PM new 15-point program. It is basically focusing upon the equitable governance. So by equity, what do you mean by equity? This is a term which you can use in social justice, GS2 governance papers, etc. So equity means how it is different from equality, concept of equality. Equity, it basically means offering equal opportunities to all. That is, unlikes should be treated unlike and likes should be treated as like. Suppose this is the line of development and these are the three sections from Indian society. Let's suppose. So the privileged section is this one, because this section is having lower distance to development. This is the line of development. This section is less privileged, whereas this section is highly underprivileged. So what the state should do to ensure equity? State must provide a fair opportunity. This must be the reference line. So this state must provide. These people also should be allowed to come to this line, and here the real competition must take place. This is the concept of equity. Then Ustad scheme. This is about skill upgradation of minorities. In a way it will be, by skill upgradation we will be getting economic mobility, and by economic mobility the overall development of that community will be ensured. Then this Khwaja Karib Nawaz Senior Secondary School. This is also education is as a right. Okay, educational mobility is being delivered. Then this Nai Roshni scheme. It is like minority women. It is a scheme for minority women wherein some financial support is given. So it is also a case of double discrimination. See, these words you have to use whenever you can use these words. Please use these words, because it is going to enhance your answer. Without these words and simply putting some facts and figures in your mains answer sheet won't be good for your marks. Okay. Next is the vulnerability of disabled persons. How these disabled persons are vulnerable and what are the reasons. That is what we are going to look upon. Then first factor is infrastructural and institutional bottlenecks. That is the main factor. Already these people are disabled physically, emotionally, and in different means these people are disabled already. Added to that, if they are not having any institutional and infrastructural access so as to get their public service delivery or to solve their grievances, then this is translating into even bigger issue. Okay, why this happens is that in many of our public service delivery systems, the citizen centric governance is rarely seen. Like suppose for example in transport buses, the public transport, you can see some reservations are offered. Reservations are offered for this blind people or physically disabled people. But that is not enough. That is not the only thing. The state must intervene. First of all, the disproportionate focus on support must be get rid of. Firstly, they should focus on equipping them. Firstly, these physically disabled people must be equipped to face the society and to live in a dignified manner. Only then reservations are going to help. Whatever reservations are given in educational field or employment opportunities, without giving them basic amenities or without giving them the basic support like the aiding devices and all, then only they can survive in a dignified manner, and then only they can easily access these added benefits. Okay. Then this problem of ethical deterioration. Today we can see many people are highly individualistic. Being individualistic is not a problem, but when it becomes a problem, to survive in a community, we all are interdependent. We all are extremely interdependent to each other. So when there is a loss of empathy, compassion, etc., the primary people to hit this is these disabled sections, because they need a support. the support given to them is not a privilege given to them, it is rather their right. Being disabled is not their fault, so it is the duty of the community to support them in a dignified manner. And there is this notion of resource crunch and competition. Often it is unfortunate that this disabled people, they are being accorded a low social status. Why should we divert our scarce resources to these people? The productivity of these people will be very low. So why should we divert this? This is the notion of common public. So this is not going to work. Okay. Then there is this lack of legal voice. Again, the law representation, administrative and political bodies, this actually blocks their voice, their legal demands, and their rational demands are being blocked. Then this social, here you can quote some report data. Okay. So quoting report data in mains answers will be very beneficial, because it reveals to the examiner that you have prepared very well in this topic. So this is yet another way of introducing. You can use these reports either in this introduction portion, or to substantiate some points you can use these reports. This social development report 2018, it says that the 45% of PWDs are illiterate. And here see, here again the case of double discrimination comes, wherein there is more women are illiterate. So women and being disabled and being illiterate. So how can such a person survive better in a society? That is not possible. Then only 2% of PWDs are enrolled in any kind of vocational course. This is also an unfortunate factor, because vocational courses are highly getting attention these days. So when this vocational courses are given attention, it actually promises some sort of promising skill development, which actually helps the people to survive in a society. Okay. Next are some schemes for disabled people. This Accessible India campaign. It is embracing this right to live with dignity, and the customization of basic amenities in transport sector, in communication transport, in public transport, buses or other metros, etc. All these systems, all the public service delivery systems are going to be in citizen centric. Okay. The basic amenities and the basic conditions of disabled people also will be taken into concern while designing these public service delivery models. That is about this Accessible India campaign. Then ADIP schemes is enhancing the reach. These aiding devices are very much important for this disabled people. So to increase the reach and increase the access of these aiding devices, this scheme is being put up. Then Deen Dayal Disabled Rehabilitation Scheme. This is also offering economic support to NGOs who are working in the field of welfare of disabled people. They are being economically supported. So there is this state's intervention as a facilitator. Then this Unique Disability Identification Portal. See, whenever some identification portals or some digital records are coming up, that is serving as a national database. What is the use of this database is that it also helps in better targeting, and it serves as a reference model. What all steps can be taken, who are the targets. So it is like an organized way of tackling an issue. So it is always better to have a national database for any kind of thing, for poverty, for disabled people. It actually serves as a guiding light to frame efficient policies. Okay. Now, apart from this, how can you give a multi-perspective approach? That is all. That is the thing I am stressing upon. See, these all disabilities, everything out of 100 candidates, 90 will be writing all these above disabilities. How you can make your answer to stand out from the crowd? That is about this multi-perspective approach. So you have to explore the disabilities which are beyond physical ones. You can give multiple dimensions. There are digitally deprived persons, technologically deprived, financially deprived, culturally handicapped. Within this culturally handicapped, you can put the women section, then children, Then tribal communities, etc., they are culturally handicapped because they are not offered an equitable status in society. So these are all a multi-perspective approach. This you can quote. From this area, from this multi-perspective, you already know that digitally deprived is you have already written that digital deprivation is already a disabled category. So from this you have to develop another schemes. So you can quote National Digital Literacy Mission. Here the aim of the scheme is at least one person per household is to be digitally literate. That is the aim of this scheme. So this digital deprivation is going to be tackled. So you can even write in a course, and here course, that is the problem, and here solution. Like that you can approach a question in different ways. As per the convenience of the question, and as per the 10 marker or 15 marker, you have to attempt the question. For that you require good answer writing practices. Then this common service center, this is also offering digital services. So here you can extend the answer by giving that it is actually supporting Article 14 and Article 21. Again, talking about Article 21, it is better if you are learning the different types of interpretations of Article 21. Over a period of time, Supreme Court has interpreted Article 21 in different manners. So all those things, there are some list of 16 or 17 interpretations, like right to sleep, right to internet, and right to environment. All these are necessary for right to life and personal dignity. So these are various interpretations, and in various answers you can use that. So that also is going to boost your mains answer. Then this Stand Up India scheme, this is like credit facility, economic support to vulnerable sections, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and women and entrepreneurs are also being focused upon. Then this environmentally handicapped, we have talked about climate refugees and all, no? So for those environmentally handicapped person, this is the term. Rather than writing environmental problems, if you are writing it as environmentally handicapped, then it will be looking good, more good. So district mineral foundations, see, these terms, these schemes and all, it is not directly coming under disabled sections, but you can convert it with the available data. You should learn how to customize your answer. So this so again, coming back, this social compensation, there is a huge environmental cost incurred by the inhabitants. So in mining areas and all, for the mining, these people are suffering very much. Okay, so that is like an unfair treatment, so they should be compensated, no? That is this environmental compensation. Okay, next is this national database, again database creation of unorganized sector. See, in India, we are having a huge rate of unemployment, and the gig economy is expanding in this wake, because everyone everyone is not having that secure jobs. So gig economy is offering a huge amount of jobs, and it is also contributing fairly to Indian GDP. So for the development, Indian state has to take care of this gig economy also. So it ensures justice at workplace, both in terms of wages and security of tenure, because the main problem of gig economy is with respect to security of tenure. So that is also being taken care of. Okay, now suggestions, way forward, what you can add in way forward. So the primary thing you can do is, for each section you have to create some sections for children and women. So here you will be getting some commission recommendations whenever you are learning. So keep that. Don't learn all the recommendations of all the committees. It is better, it is enough if you are learning the name and any one unique recommendation, because in a mains answer sheet, that's all you can write in an answer. So you have to divide it into sections. For tribal communities, what are the data, you can write it here. So at the end of your preparation and during the exam, you are having a properly prepared precise document to refer upon, and from that committee recommendations you can add on as way forward, what you can do to improve the conditions. So give committee recommendations. Here I am giving an example, JS Verma committee. It is related to sexual harassment at workplace. Okay, so the recommendation is setting up an employment tribunal instead of internal complaints committee. So this will be this committee is telling this will be working good Okay, then the other thing you can use is use data points. So again, this you cannot mug up so with some 20 to 30 or maximum 50 data points you can use in different topics. See, for example, this is a data point: 64% of Indian population is expected to be in working age, that is 15 to 59 years by 2026. This single data point where you can use, if there is a question from human resource development, you can use. Then demographic dividend based question you can use. Then educational mobility you can use. Skill development, that also you can link to this. Employment generation, that also you can link. If there is a question from brain drain, then also you can link to this point. Say this much people will be in the working age group, so instead of compromising to brain drain, India should be in a position to absorb this huge workforce. Like that you can write. That is the basic thing. Okay, then another data point is 30% of youth are neither employed or nor in education or training. So you have to focus on reaping the fruits of you have to focus on improving this demographic dividend. Okay, training this demographic dividend. Then always other thing is include the positive data. This is also very important. Always when you're writing, don't always criticize government policies, and don't always, when you're giving the conclusion to an answer, don't always give a negative flavor to that answer. Also include in some questions, so somehow you have to take a neutral stand and include positive data. This indicates the success of schemes. Okay, to substantiate the success of schemes, you can use positive data also. Here one data is given, iCube report. It is a report. It says that monthly active internet users have shown a growth rate of 24%, and the overall penetration has increased to 41%. So this is a good move. So moving on to the discussion of the practice question which was given in the earlier episode, that is episode 1. We will be discussing it. Again, I have said in the earlier lecture itself, there are n ways of writing an answer. For mains answer writing, there is nothing like a right answer or wrong answer. It's all about how you present the answer. So presentation is the first thing. So here in this approach, I will be showing a template answer with the available points in the lecture. So with these points, with the notes available with you, you have to learn to write good quality answers. Okay, so the question was, despite consistent experience of high growth, India still goes with the lowest indicators of human development. Examine the issues that make balanced and inclusive growth elusive. So this is the question. Thing you have to look upon is whether the question is for 10 mark or 15 mark. If the question is for 10 mark, then you have to attend in 150 words, and for that you will be allotted some 2 pages. The page pattern of UPSC, you should be aware that it is like a page with both sides blank, and here in the space you have to write. For this, like this, 2 pages will be given, and for 15 marker you will be given 3 pages of the same pattern, and that you have to attend in 250 words. So word limit, always be conscious with the word limit whenever you are writing an answer. Okay, then the next thing is, look for the directive in the question. There are many directives like elucidate, then critically examine. Here the directive is examine. So with each directive, the examiner is expecting something out of you. You have to write accordingly. In this directive, examine, it means that whatever is given in the question, you have to establish the facts or points. You have to support that. Other than that, you don't have to dig much into it. Okay, you have to just support the question statement. You don't have to go deep into it, like why, how. That questions, it is not relevant in examine kind of what directive. You can give a small introduction. Introduction is very important, although it is small. It should be of 3 to 4 lines. 3 lines is enough. If you are not able to write in 3 lines, 4 lines is also enough. But the introduction is very important, because it reveals to the examiner the degree of understanding of your question. In the introduction, you can use some data points like some report data or some statistics data or something like that. Keywords, everything can be used in introduction. Okay. So having done with the introduction, you have to move into the body part. Body part, you can divide it into subparts. So the examiner will not have to look for the answers and look for the points in your answer. The answer will be looking organized if you are giving some subparts. Here you can include figures, then graphs, something like that, flow charts, etc. Then next part is way forward, that is also 3 to 4 points is enough. In point like manner you can write. Okay. Then conclusion, 2 to 3 line conclusion is enough. So whenever you are giving conclusion, please be sure that don't criticize government as such. Always take a neutral stand, somewhat neutral stand you have to take. Like you should not be doing some negative attitude to the question. Okay. On to the detailing. In introduction, what would be a good introduction for this question? To substantiate the statement, we can give an introduction like, though the Economic Survey 2021 projects India's real GDP growth at 11%, human resource quality remains low. That is, sex ratio at birth, nutrition, gender equality, etc. declined. See, in this way, you are substantiating the statement given in the question. In addition, you are bringing a data point. Economic survey data you can use reliably. That is a government data. So always go for government data that in a way boost your answer quality. Okay. So that is all about introduction. Here itself you are bringing in the 3 factors: sex ratio, nutrition, gender equality, etc. So this is directly impacting human resource quality. Okay. Next part is the body part. Body part, how I am writing here is, this is one approach. Okay. Here you can write like, what about the inequitable growth in India? This is a simple heading. Don't give like innovative headings and all, that creates a confusion. So always go for simple headings. This is the question. So put this heading. Then you can write in point manner. See, here also whenever you are giving in a point like manner, you can give different approaches like political factors, social factors. That is one approach. Then other approach is the one here I have given. Here I have given the first point as gender bias. What about the gender bias? Low political representation of women and transgenders. Then female feticide, child marriage, dowry system, social exclusion of transgenders. See, you are writing a answer for social justice portion. So always be sure to include terms and keywords from that portion also. Here social exclusion is a keyword, and whenever you are writing an answer in this paper, always try to link it with GS2 governance also. Parallelly, one playlist is running in this channel itself. So you can take points from that portion also whenever you are writing answers in this, and vice versa. From this social justice portions, you can take points and write in governance portion also. So like that you have to interlink. Okay. So first point is completed. Then coming to the second points, vulnerable communities, how they are impacting. Due to them, how India's growth is becoming inequitable. So rural development, these all points we have covered in the earlier lecture, and this lecture we have covered. So you have to consolidate the points, that is your job. So rural development, how it is getting hindered by digital illiteracy, poor skills, non-modernized agriculture, etc. is impacting vulnerable communities in the rural area. Then children, stunting, wasting, defective socialization. Here you can give a report for each and every point. You can't give data points for, but for some points you can give. So in food and nutrition security analysis, 1 in 3 Indian children under the age of 5 years are going to be stunted by 2022. So this is a data point. Then climate refugees. See, this is a unique point. This in a way actually flavors your answer. So climate refugees, they are facing displacement and denial of public services. Okay. So next is health. Okay. In health section, what you can write? High out of pocket expenditure. So it is a burden for poverty struck population in India. It is a poverty struck population. No. Then low spending, that is 1.15% of GDP. Here I have given some estimates in this lecture, like what is the GDP spending done by developed countries. You can compare this also, but always while writing the points, stick to the word limits also. Okay. Then anemia, high MMR. See, here itself in this one dimension we are coming with the gender dimension also. Same way, if you are not up to the mark with health data, you can also write about education. In this education, instead of health, in this education you can give different points, like what is the state of education, poor quality education. Here itself you can write a gender perspective of education, like what is the gross enrollment ratio, like that. See, that's how you have to write an answer. With the available data, you have to learn how to customize and how to present your answer beautifully. Okay. Next is this anemia. So coming back to the point, anemia, high MMR, infant mortality rate, low institutional delivery, poor mental health coverage. These all things are actually very good points. So here in this small area you are covering that much of points. So next dimension is whatever left is you can give it under the head of other factors or something like that. Okay, this is a diplomatic approach. Whatever is left you can put it in the other factors. Here what all you can tell, there is poor surveillance or monitoring, then there is red tapeism, corruption is there. Then we are moving to politics without principles, because the administrative system, they are concerned with mere elections. They are not concerned much about welfare approach. Okay, so there is a commercialization of politics. See, these terms also you can use. With the word limit you can use all these points. Then there is unethical governance. Then there are many socio-cultural barriers also. So here some points you can substantiate with examples also to clarity, to clear your answer. Okay, for boosting the clarity of your answer you can use examples also. Job stereotyping, that is teaching is meant for women and defense is meant for men. Then there is this vaccine hesitancy. The traditional people, they will be hesitant to take the vaccines and all. They will be having that fear psychosis. So that in a way is impacting the health of the country. Then moving on to the suggestions. Suggestions is the way forward like thing. So whatever issues you haven't covered in the other body part now, that you can cover in the suggestion. That means whatever issues you have to cover more, you can write it in a suggestion like approach. See here, education was not covered in this answer. So here in suggestion you can give it as an issue and a suggestion. So quality education to tackle jobless growth, this is a keyword. Then unemployment, these points we haven't written here. So instead of writing it in the body part and suggestion part, that is a repetition. Okay, so you can write it in the suggestion part or body part, either way you can write. So here you can give the example as NEP 2020, National Education Policy. Then decentralized governance is needed. Then participative governance is needed. So success models also can be told in suggestions part. This Kudumbashri of Kerala, that is SHG. So it is dealing with women empowerment. Then redistribution of wealth and correcting Gini coefficient. See, in the suggestion part itself how many keywords are coming. These all are issues that we are writing it in a suggestion like manner. Then conclusion, what will be a conclusion? The pillars of good governance. This exact point I have covered in my lecture. Pillars of good governance like ethics, equity, efficiency. This ensures the social justice spills over to every section of the society. This is a simple kind of conclusion you can give. Okay, next is the other practice question for the next lecture. Here you can try with the lecture I have taken now, you can try writing this practice question. Multiplicity of various commissions for the vulnerable sections of society leads to problems of overlapping jurisdiction and duplication of functions. Is it better to merge all the commissions into an umbrella human rights commission? Argue your case. This is a question from 2018 mains. So in the same way you can try attempting this in a 15 marker or 10 marker format, and in the next class we will be discussing this practice question. Okay, thank you.